contradicted yourself here. Everything you mention is the result of sin in our fallen nature. Then you say following Christ is a way to counter all of that evil. You see the problem here yet? Everything you mention is the result of sin, and which is our fallen nature, but somehow Christ is a way to counter all of that evil. Then you say, nope, but there is love, children, kindness, creativity, nature, family. All of that can counter those things. What, our fallen nature? Which following Christ can't be a way to counter it because it's our fallen nature, a result of sin, which we are inherently born with? Really? So tell me, how is following Christ a way to counter our fallen nature as a result of sin? Care to explain that to me? Oh, free will? Oh, you mean the force to make a choice? Really? How? What? What does free will have to do with anything? Okay. So, how can we choose to follow Christ despite our fallen nature? How does that solve anything? And as for love, children, kindness, we're all of a fallen nature because of sin. How can love, children, kindness, creativity, nature, family, giving all counter those things? How can they counter our fallen nature as a result of sin? Which can't be, by the way, because Adam and Eve were created by God. Now, well, of course, that depends on what your definition of sin is. Is your definition either absence of God or disobeying God? But even that doesn't really matter because they weren't absent of God when they were created. They were created by God on His own land. The Garden of Eden, which is supposed to be a utopia, a paradise. And they couldn't have disobeyed God because they weren't sinners. How could they have disobeyed God if not sinners? You see the problem with all this yet, sidetracked? And it's just, you're insulting my intelligence with this shit. And as for evil, well, okay, so given that we're all born with original sin, which is our fallen nature upon birth, meaning we're all under the influence of the devil at birth and on, that would mean we can only be attracted to other evil. As some of you follow Christ, which means you follow God, that would make God also evil, wouldn't it? But then again, given that we're again born with original sin, that can only mean the Bible was inspired by Satan. Who else would have inspired them, being that we're all born under the devil's fucking influence? Or agency, whatever term you want to use. Are you seeing the problem with all this yet? Now, do I really need to go into love? How is it love if it comes with a consequence for not loving? Explain that. Children, you mean forcing them into church? Despite the fallen nature? Does that prevent crime, war, anything else I'd mention in that list? Kindness. What do you mean kindness? I mean, maybe we need to solve problems and not just rely on kindness. Well, that doesn't sound right. I mean, I'm not... Yes, obviously we do need to be kind, but we need to solve problems. That's more important than any of these. There is love, children, kindness, creativity, nature. What the fuck does nature have to do with anything? Family are people too. Family are of a fallen nature. What peace? You mean preaching? You mean the political interference caused by Christianity? You mean Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert? That peace? You mean Greg Locke? You mean that's peace to you? What else do we have going on here because of Christianity? What other bullshit has Christianity given us? I mean, people are still living on the streets despite kindness. People are still unemployed despite kindness. People are still committing crimes despite kindness. So what is all this? Where do you get these from? What do they have to do with anything? The stupidest fucking post or reply I've ever read in my life. Actually, I probably shouldn't even say that. I've seen a lot.